Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to CocoaHeads tonight for May. So to begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, traditional custodians of this land, paying my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Christian, are you controlling the music? Are you controlling the music? All right. Sorry. All right, so to get started, I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping and then we'll get straight into our talk for the night. So hello, I'm Zach, and along with Christian, we help run and organise CocoaHeads. So come and see us with any questions, comments or concerns throughout the night. But as always, a reminder that we have a code of conduct, and you can read it in full on the website there. But the idea is to be respectful, be inclusive, and be aware. And if you have any issues or concerns related to that, please come and speak to Christian or myself. Now, a big thank you to our sponsors. We have two wonderful sponsors who help make the event possible. So they are Biloo and Procreate. You probably know Biloo. We're in their offices right now. But we also have Procreate on board as a sponsor. And that started last month. So for those of you who were here, you'd be aware that this is a new thing. And we'll have some kind of more exciting details to share from the team at Procreate later in the year. And some very interesting talks that are coming. But they're big news for now. And again, I did go over this last month, but if you weren't here, they are coming to Sydney. So if you're not familiar with Procreate, they're a very advanced kind of Pro Tools app for the iPad, but they're based in Hobart and they've never had a Sydney office until now. And so that's changing. And they're looking for people to join them. So if you are interested, there's a careers page up there. Last time I looked, I don't think there were any Sydney specific jobs, but definitely check them out and send them a message if that's something you might be interested in for when they do open their office. And once they're set up and open, they'll be attending and like I said, have a bit more to share through talks and stuff like that. So we're very excited about this. They help make CocoaHeads possible, but it's also a very cool company and I can only assume a very, very cool place to work. Now, if you're not aware, we have a Slack group, Slack community for CocoaHeads across Australia and New Zealand. Definitely recommend checking it out. There's a Sydney channel in there where I'll post kind of updates related to this specific event, but the other channels are shared amongst other members of CocoaHeads community, and it's a good place to hang out throughout the month, ask you questions, answer questions, and things like that. Now, we are on YouTube tonight, so just the camera's over there, just be aware of that. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're watching at home, hello and welcome. Now, is anyone attending for the first time? Just a show of hands. Welcome, round of applause. Thanks for coming. We hope you enjoy. Now, if you like what you see here tonight, Melbourne CocoaHeads do a similar thing also monthly. We typically run on the third Thursday. They run on the second, and they have a pretty good YouTube live stream as well, so you're able to watch that even if you're up here in Sydney. Speaking of Melbourne, the DevWorld conference is happening in Melbourne. It's scheduled for 4th and 5th of September in Melbourne this year. If you haven't attended DevWorld before, it's a great community of iOS and Swift developers. Really interesting talks and always a fun conference to be a part of. They're currently looking for speakers. So if you have a conference talk or you'd like to write a conference talk and present it at DevWorld, definitely check out their website, devworld.au, and submit your talk that way. And I imagine we'll have a few more details about the actual conference as we get closer to September as well. Is anyone here hiring or looking for work and want to give a quick either plug for themselves or plug for their workplace? No, no one? Okay, cool. Yeah, sure.
But we are currently looking for at least a sort of mid-level iOS engineer for our team in Brisbane. And we're also coming up to look for some mostly iOS/Android/Kotlin backend tech leads to join our team in Sydney. So reach out if that sounds remotely interesting.
Cool, thanks. So go speak to Christian in the break if that sounds interesting, or remember that Procreate are coming to Sydney and hiring. All right, so looking ahead, next month, it's the big one. Oh, I did not update that date. I apologize. I think that should be the 19th of June. Yeah, 19th of June is our next meetup. So that's the week after WWDC. It's our big event for the year. we don't have a set agenda yet, so I did want to put out the call that if there's anything, if something happens during WWDC week that you find interesting and you want to give a short talk on, a nice summary or something of a new API or feature or something like that, feel free to get in touch with Christian and myself and we can make that happen. But other than that, we will be doing a panel discussion, which has been a thing we've done in the June event for a few years now. This is always a fun way to kind of get some audience interaction, ask some questions, and get kind of expert opinions on what people think or expect based on the announcements at WWDC. If you've attended one before, they're always really interesting. So if you'd like to be on the panel or you know someone who'd be a good fit for the panel, come and see Christian or myself tonight or send us a message throughout the month. If we get closer to the event, we might have to start tapping people on the shoulder, but if enough people come forward, hopefully we can fill a panel that way, and that would be better. And also to have some different people on the panel as well than what we've had in previous years. So yeah, send us a message or speak to us tonight and we can make that happen. Now, everyone's getting better about this, so I won't go on, but just please keep up the accurate RSVPs on Meetup. You know, it's kind of annoying to have no-shows and stuff, and it's fine if you can't come, but just updating the RSVP really helps us with the catering. But like I said, I think we're getting better at this, so I won't go on too much about that. Tonight's schedule, we have one talk by Jan. If you've attended a talk by Jan before, they're always of exceptional quality, no pressure. So I'm very excited to see what he has in store for us tonight. Again, no pressure. So that's all I've got for you, and I'll pass it over to Jan. That was a little bit mean, I'm sorry.
Like work at home in my free time, and okay. I want to share with you my latest project, what I done, and like during this project I made a lot of mistakes, and I mean like a lot, but I also learned a lot. So I think that some of those stuff might be useful for you. So I want to share that. Okay, so let's start because we have a lot of stuff to cover. I had the privilege to try Vision Pro a couple times, and I absolutely love it. We could discuss the ergonomics or some form factor, but I can definitely imagine something like this to be a future. And I want to make apps for it, and I want to buy it, but my wife disagrees. So I negotiated with her that I can get one like once I have some paid project for that. So we will see about that. Let's start from the basics. Like spatial computing, this is the term coined by Simon Greenwald in his thesis in 2003. Well, it's very interesting that the movie Minority Report, it's from 2002. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's a coincidence. And I want to understand like this whole concept, and there's like no better way than to start some project. So as you know, that there are like 3 different modes, and I use all of them. And each of them has some like good stuff, some not so good stuff. So with Windows, this is like practically like hands-free iPad experience. But I think it might be quite hard to make a case that you need a Vision Pro for that. Then like for volumes, it's like halfway between windows and immersive spaces. It's amazing for visualization, but and you can like practically like walk around the stuff, so it's pretty cool. But it doesn't know anything like about its surroundings. And then we have immersive spaces, and this is adding this extra information to the real environment, and this is the real like game changer, where you can see through stuff or inside the stuff. So, but yeah, currently it's supporting only one app in the same time, but yeah, it's not actually like a like a problem, but yeah, more like a feature. So as an inspiration, there are like a number of pretty cool concepts and apps. So let's take a look at a few. This is the concept from visual effect artist John Lepore, and it's about Formula One race visualization. And it looks amazing, but this is just the visualization. This is just the concept. This is not a real thing. However, his idea was adopted by developers who created app labs for tracking Formula One race. And this is the real app. It's using car telemetries for positioning cars on track, and yeah, it looks quite nice. But I think that this was available just via test flight, and Formula One complained about that, so the team was forced to remove it. Then this is the NBA app, like tabletop view of the game. And there are like many statistics around it, and also there's a live camera view of the game. And I can imagine people paying for this just to be like practically in this first row seat of the game. So this one is like a golf tournament, PGA app tour app. And everything is practically like in real time, like tracking the golf balls and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm not actually like golf player, so I'm not very sure like what's in there. And I know that there are a couple more apps quite similar to mine, but we will not talk about them today or ever. So the app I'm working on doesn't have a name yet, just the code name, as I needed the name for the repository. So behold, it's called Flying Machines. And I need to warn you, like I could talk about this app for hours, but I'll make it a little bit shorter, as most of us has to go to work tomorrow. So I'll be jumping a lot, mentioning just the most interesting bits and pieces. So the point of the app is just like answering the ultimate question, like where is that plane going? Okay, let's take a look at demo, and now have a little bit patience with me. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is a simulator, and the app is starting. So down here you can see some menu with some stuff what you can do. I will get to those like in a second, but I just want to show you like what this is about. And this is the real time view, like those planes are actually there, like flying. And here you can see the airport, like in Sydney. So here's like a little bit information about some generic stuff. And also you can control the map. So I will just like zoom out a little bit. I can just like move it a little bit to Blue Mountains. And here I just want to show you like the plasticity of the map, like how the elevation works here. And so maybe I can also show you here the search. So here are like a couple places you can search for any custom place. I will go to Japan to show you Mount Fuji. So it should be in here. Yeah, like this should be much nicer view. Now let me get back to Sydney. So this is the current position. It's hard-coded for now. We are in downtown. And here for the airport, there's one more thing I haven't shown you. It's like this radio. So right now it's like loading ATC streams, air traffic control streams, and you can just like select some of it and you can play it. Yeah, I'm not sure if it will work, but yeah, you probably also like cannot really hear it, so yeah, it doesn't matter much. Now here is some settings. You can like disable airports or just like yeah, so you can see them around. Also there's a compass, so yeah, sorry, I'm not sure how much is visible, but there are like a waypoint, so you can see the directions. And there's one more thing I want to show you, and this is this immersive mode. So if I press this button, it will get you to your current location, and now you can see all the planes around you. So here's a compass. You can zoom in or zoom a little bit out. Like if some planes are like not visible in here, they are like not visible like around you. And if you will tap on something, yeah, you will see some more information about the plane, like how far it is, like what's the, yeah, some basic information about that. Here on top, you can see some like debugging information. I just like left it here, but like you can see that the gravity is like changing, like the compass is changing. The tilt is not supported by a simulator. So yeah, but this should be also changing like with a real device. Yeah, like always, like if you will just like look down, like you will see this menu. So it's around you. Also, like if you will be just moving somewhere else, it's kind of like stick to your head. Now, if I will cancel it, those planes are just like going back, and now it should display like the real map. Okay, I will. All right, so where did I get all the data? There are a number of ADSB providers. Each of them has a slightly different API. Some are free, some are paid, quality differs, but most of the values overlaps. I implemented like 3 different providers, and it's like very easy to switch one over another given the architecture, but I will talk about that later. App is using this automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, or ADSB, and it looks like this device, and is like somewhere in the airplane cockpit acting as a collision avoidance system, and is broadcasting on repeat this information about the position and like much more information about the aircraft. And the ADSB enthusiasts are piggybacking on that. So the contributors can purchase receivers, or they can even build their own with Raspberry Pi and antenna. Here's the example of data from Open Sky Network. Here's some explanation, like what does those items means. So this ICIO, this is the unique identifier, like each airplane has a different one. Then we have GPS coordinates and the altitude. Also, there is some flag whether it's grounded or not, but yeah, this is not very useful. So this is the current position of the aircraft. And we have a time position. This is the timestamp. So all that information is valid for that specific timestamp. And there is a little bit more. It's a velocity, heading, and climbing speed. And this is very useful for future estimation. So like for a couple more seconds, you can estimate like where the aircraft will be. It's like going in a straight line. So it's like not super useful in a couple of minutes. It usually is not as accurate. And this is the bare minimum I needed for the app. Other providers could have much more data, like a signal power, navigation accuracy, wind speed, outside temperature, and many more. I'm not using like any library for the map, so everything is programmed manually. And first I wrote it with a focus on dragging, and then I figured out that I also need to support zooming. And it was like super hard to retrofit it, so I just have to go from scratch and rewrite this whole thing. But so far it's working, so I will not be touching it again. So this Slippy map, this is the standard, like how every modern map on computer works right now. You can search for this as a Slippy map or tiles web map. So how it works, it's like each tile is defined by some zoom, by some x coordinate and y coordinate. And it returns you like this specific tile. So for zoom 0, there's only one tile, like this is the whole world. And now when you are zooming, increasing the zoom, you can see like more and more like granularity. So as you are getting like closer and closer to the surface. So the tile always has the same resolution. It's like 256 times 256 pixels. I'm using Mapbox Tiles API for this, but I'm pretty sure that Google Maps should have something very similar. The API looks like this, and there are a couple of equations like how to convert it from latitude, longitude coordinate system to the tile system, something like this, and then also like how to convert it back. So how drag works? Like this is the top-down view of the map to help you to visualize like what this square means. Like it's something like this, right? Like this is the map. And here are those tiles. So each tile has a letter and the number. The number is ID of the tile, and the letter, this is the content of the map. So now, like, what would happen if I will start dragging it to the left? Just like goes to the left, and it's changing the offset of those tiles. But like once there's like nowhere else to go, it will kind of like a stop, and it will reload everything. So now you can see that we still have like those four tiles, but like there is a different content. So let me go back and forward, and you can see that the content of B is like always on the same spot, but like it's represented by different like physical tile kind of. And this transition is like very smooth as the content is like preloaded and cached. So now let's finish the drag. By the way, you can see here the grid is only 2 by 2, but actually it's like more like 6 by 6, but it's like much easier to visualize it and to debug it when you just like change it to something much smaller. And the zoom works quite similarly. So it's overlapping this like invisible zoomed out tiles. Here you can see them, like they are like not visible, but like they are also like four tiles. And yeah, so now just like imagine that you will start pinching, and it's just like going like making smaller, and now it will just like switch to this like bigger like resolution. And this is done like recursively, so you can just like continue with a pinch, or I have there this like slider for debugging. It could go like across like multiple zooms. Yeah. So again, like the content is preloaded and cached, so this whole movement looks like quite smooth. Here's an example of one such tile. This is from Diamond Bay in eastern suburbs. And there are two kinds of tiles. Like this is the satellite image, and there is also like elevation image. And you can see that there's some green, blue colors, and those are corresponding with the terrain elevation. But how do we get elevation for a specific pixel? So there is this equation. But how to do that, right? Like with this equation. So there'll be a whole section about shaders, but like let me do this one exception and show you the elevation shader. This is from Reality Composer Pro. It's like a little bit older version, so right now the UI looks slightly different. Okay, so we are starting with a color, and then the color is getting separated to different components. So you got your RGB, and you will be multiplying like each channel with a different coefficient. So this does correspond like with it with this thing like with a RGB like on top. And you can tell that it's like not necessary to multiply it by 1, but yeah, I just like the symmetry. So yeah, you don't need that box like for the blue color. Then you will just like summarize everything, and you will multiply it by 0.1, which is dividing by 10, and just subtract like 10,000, and you have your elevation in the meters above the sea level. You just have to make sure that you feed it with a picture with the raw settings, not with the because like usually it defaults to this like adjusted monitor color profile, and then it's like not working. Like you just get those like random issues. So this is map volume box again, but this is the view from the side. So this is like how you are looking at it right now. And here you can see that different colors represent different tiles, and the line represents like the elevation on the tile. And here are some yellow dots, and each yellow dot is the average of the tile. And when I say average, I mean like a random point. And when I say random, I mean like the center one, like for each tile. And now we have this yellow line. This is the center, like the half height of the tile. And what I need to do is just like match those two, right? Like so average of those averages is always the same height as that line. So there is this like very slow animation going on there. So I have to just adjust the elevation. Otherwise, it will just like get out of this like a volume box. Like if you have some map somewhere in the mountains, it will not be there because it's out of your scope. So let me show you this again. Like there's like another tile. I will just get like another center point, and now I'm just like changing it like to the center. And this animation is like very slow. It takes like 15 seconds just to get it on that point, just to not disturb the user. Okay, and so this one is like also kind of related to the map. As I show you, there is a search in the app, and to make it work, I need a geocoding feature, and CoLocation has one. It's returning this like CL placemark, and it's like quite old API by now. And so the point of this like CL placemark is that you have your GPS coordinate, and you also have to have this like interest radius of interest for your point, right? So you know, if you're searching for New South Wales, you don't care about seeing like Opera House. You just want to see this whole thing. So it's about this radius, like you have to have some means to distinguish between interest in 10 meters or in 1,000 kilometers. But like for some reason, it's unavailable in Vision OS. And this was a bugger. I was considering to use another API, but like then I thought, so if I will print that object, the radius will not be there, right? And it's there. So it just like cannot be accessed directly via variable. And Swift 6 has this fancy way of using regex. So I just like wrote a simple extension. I'm just like parsing it out. So is this hacking around? Like, absolutely. Is it working? Yes, it is. When I started this project, I want to learn a bit more about Swift concurrency. So I challenged myself to not use combine. And in my head, it was just like mapping combine on Swift concurrency. And the async algorithms, like this, helped a lot. But the first trouble came when I found out that the async stream cannot have multiple consumers. So I wrote some workaround, but it's not very nice. I think that there is some proposal, but to have like shared async streams, but it's not ready yet. Yeah, everyone who touched Swift concurrency knows about Sendable. Like it's challenging. Also, like scalability might be another issue. Like I haven't hit this problem like in my project, but I can imagine that the bigger teams with a bigger project, there might be some problems to scale it up. At least like in my mind, like reactive programming is like more proven, more robust. So in the end, I kind of like realized that those are just like different tools for different problems. So let's just use hammer for hammering nail, right? And screwdriver to screw things up. Okay, navigation. In Vision Pro, it could be like a little bit tricky if you are using like multiple windows. So let me explain. There are environment property wrappers for opening and closing windows and immersive space. But there's like no way to list all the open windows. And in all examples, they track open windows manually by setting variable together with opening and closing windows. So it looks something like this. But if you don't close this window programmatically, but you will use the system control, it will get out of sync. And I'm sure that this is something what's probably fixed in Vision OS 3. But in the meantime, I did dive into this one, like how to resolve that. So I found out that the shared application contains open sessions. And after some filtering and mapping, you can read a scene ID, which is what I needed. And then I was able to generate this window ID, which is my object, and assign it to the list of open windows. But this refresh windows function must be called regularly, and I just don't think polling is cool. So how to do that? By trial and error, I found out that there are a couple notifications which I can use, and those are those. And those will like inform me about changes in that state. There's like a little bit of debounce, but nothing terrible. So it's just like multiple notifications could be delivered at once or almost at once. So yep, this seems to be working fine. We already talked about the elevation shader, but there are a couple more shaders I want to share with you. So this is my tile shader. And each shader has this like preview surface, but it's not suitable for this shader as I need to display the elevation for tiles which has like more than 4 points. So I generate like every plane I generate there has like 100 times 100 points for each tile. And those are like vertically offset. So this is like what creates this terrain plasticity. The inputs are stable in the code, and the outputs is the stuff what you can see. And here is the shader setup. So just notice that the elevation has to use like this raw image, but yeah, I already mentioned that. And here are two nodes. So we already covered the elevation one. So let's take a look at the rounded corners. I couldn't find a simple way like how to make rounded corners. So I thought like how hard it could be. And surprisingly, it's not very straightforward. But I'm sure that there must be like a simpler way to do that. So it's starting with the coordinates. Then I would just like remap it to some relative ones. I'm using symmetric quadrants with the absolute values. And here's like a little bit more of coordinate manipulation. And now here are the interesting stuff. So this branch is making the rounded like circles like in each corner. And so yeah, those are the stuff like which are visible from the tile. And this bottom branch is just like clipping the corners out. And now when we just like fuse those two together, like this is actually the thing what we need. Then there's like a little bit of unnecessary cleanup, and the result is opacity. So now I want to show you a couple details in Reality Composer Pro. I'm currently using like those 4 different models in low poly design, and you can tell that those doesn't belong to the same style, so I have to probably figure out some like better models in the set, something like that. But yeah, I think it's fine for now. And there are some animations. So it's not much, but like let me quickly show you what I have here. So the first one is the particle effect from planes when flying, and there's also like another one for the landing. I use the preset effect and then fine-tune them in Reality Composer Pro, and then I just like programmatically generate them, so it's like easier to use in the code. This is the code, and you can see that there are like different settings for different intensities. Yeah, that might be like faster plane, stuff like that. And the second animation is like about moving propellers. So you can see helicopter here, but there's another like a Cessna plane which has like a animated propeller. And let me quickly show you demo how it's done in the Reality Composer Pro. Okay, can you see it? Cool. So here I will just generate like some particle effect, and I will just play it. I have to zoom in. And you can see here like a couple different presets. You probably play with those. So yeah, I think I'm using something like this for the landing. You can customize the stuff. If I will change the speed here, yeah, it's just like a different effect. So yep, I did like all the debugging here, just like played with those values. Once there was something what I quite liked, I just copied those values to the code. I could also like use it directly from the scene, but I think it's a little bit cleaner just to do that from the code. Now let me show you the animation for the helicopter. So here is our helicopter. We will go to the timelines. I will create a new timeline. And here I will pick the spin animation and just drag and drop it here. And you have to select the target. So I don't want the whole helicopter, but just the blades. So what does it do now? Yep, this looks good. But let's do the same. Let's do the same like for the other rotor. I will just choose the target. It's the tail rotor. Let's try this again. Yeah, this animation doesn't look good. So let's change it. Like set different axes, and yep, now it looks promising. But this is done only once, so we don't want to have it once. We can copy paste it a couple of times, but this is also like not clean. So I'll create like another timeline, and I will just like drag and drop the previous one here, and I will tick here repeat forever. And yep, it's repeating forever. But the animation still doesn't look good. So what we can do here, we should change like this timing function. So this will be linear. I will do the same for the other propeller. And now when I play it, yeah, so this is practically like what I've done there. It was not as fast as I was like looking for all the settings, but yeah, it's quite nice. Okay, let's shift the gear a little bit. Air traffic control, or ATC. So how does that work? Like usually each airport has a couple different frequencies for communication with aircrafts, and those frequencies are public and everyone in range can listen to them. There are some exceptions like UK where it's illegal. And there's like a network of volunteers in close airport proximity, and they are streaming the radio traffic to the cloud, and the cloud is streaming the real time to everyone else. And I've been playing with this as an experimental feature. There is like liveatc.net is providing those streams. And in their terms of use is explicitly mentioned no use of third-party desktop or mobile apps, like in this point. Although like no one mentioned spatial apps, I think it should be fine. Well, I reach out for them and ask for some API access, but unfortunately they've been doing some maintenance and like not granting like any new accesses. But I really want to try that. So I broke like another rule about not scraping their web. Just disclaimer, like this is not production version. This is just like for prototyping and for my understanding how it works. So you can display like all available streams for the airport and play any of them. And we will get to the architecture in a couple of minutes. But it's like very simple to replace that scraping service layer with some proper calls. But I want to show you here like one detail. So you can see that there are multiple ATC streams, but only one could be played in the same time. So otherwise, you will not understand what they are saying. And if you press one, if you press another one, like the previous one should stop. So how to do that? Like each play button or like that line is represented by this subview, and you have to initialize it with this playing URL and with this binding on in it. So and then you have this control button. So if you are pausing or playing it, you are just like assigning the current URL to this playing URL binding. And then there is like another like observer to start the stream. And finally, here you can see the parent view, and this is like for generating like all those different lines. And here, this one is the source of truth. So there is only one source of truth. Only one thing could be playing it in the time, and this is like how it's implemented. So how to display the plane position in immersive mode? This is the top-down view. The arrow indicates like looking direction, and the head anchor is like it's static. It's always like on your head. Like this is not really moving anywhere. Now, if you will look left, the bubble around is like kind of like moving right in the opposite direction. It applies like for the roll and for the pitch rotations. Simulator doesn't support yaw rotation, so I'm not sure if that's like how much that one is needed. Probably yes. So let's do some example. Like let's say that here's some plane, and now if the user will be looking to the left, like the bubble is kind of like going to the right, and then like looking back. So yeah, the gaze direction is fixed on this image. So everything is like kind of like rotating around you. There are also like word coordinates which are like on this like another bubble, like a little bit like further away. Also, if you select some plane, it will get like a little bit closer to you, so it's easier to read, and also it's like not overlapping like other stuff. Here's another illustration of the same thing. So this is like the bubble, which is like still like in the same direction, and you are just like moving inside that bubble. Yeah, I hope it makes sense a little bit. Each of those parts. So I have this handy thing. This is just like convenience extensions. It's app agnostic, like could be used in any app, like should be external package. I'm not saying it is, but it should be versioned properly. All the others are just internal ones. Then I have this like shared module. This is very small. It's for some shared object across features. It's kind of like I wasn't sure where it should belong, so I created like a new module for that. Reality content. This is just for 3D models, shaders. Those are resources. And I have this one for reusable functions for data migration. I will get to that in a second. And there are 2 modules for sharing models between features and migrations. Those contains like Swift data models, as I couldn't use a protocol conformance to abstract them. And those are specific app features. Those are executable migration scripts. And finally, this is the app itself. So what's going on about this migration? Like I'm using there some databases. I use the one with almost like 5,000 records about the airports or all around the world. And there is around 600,000 plane records. And the database has more than 100 megabytes. And both of those databases are in plain text. They're like in CSV. And I wanted to migrate that to Swift data to have some like more modern approach with a quick search. So how to manufacture this like Swift data database? And I found this one-liner on Stack Overflow. It must be working, right? So I ran it, and of course it's not working. Like this is the actual database schema, like what's needed for Swift data to work. Like there are like 7 different tables under the hood, and I didn't know that. So I ended up like creating this like executable programs from the project, and this is the migration script. So I will manually read the data from the CSV. I will clean them up, and then I will save them to this Swift data with those Swift data objects in those like shared modules. Yeah, so I wrote this like executable in the project to keep the migration reproducible, not just like one time off. So maybe let me quickly show you this one. Yeah, so here you can see that I can just like switch the schema here. Here's like this plain data migration, and I can just run it. I don't think it will work like on Vision Pro, but like you have to run it on Mac. But yeah, it should be fine. It just takes like couple minutes, and it's done. Here you can see this module. So there are like those plain models. Yeah, here you can see that this is the Swift data model. I haven't figured out like how to do this like with a protocol, but I think it's fine. Like I just create like another module for that. And here is the data migration. So here is the main script where I will just like grab this CSV with 100 megabytes or so and just like run the script. Okay, so architecture. This is the huge topic with many opinions. I'll just show you what I've done. It's kind of clean, but not quite. Clean architecture was popularized by Robert C. Martin. Is this guy? He wrote like 5 books on this topic. I haven't read any of it yet, but I have them on my reading list. So yeah, I'm using this PDS architecture, which is stands for presentation, domain, and services, and it's amazing. We use that at work, and it's quite nice. There are like many different terminologies, but like let's not go there. There are also like many different ways like how to split those layers. Let's also not go there. I'll just like show you what I've done here. So the presentation layer has dependency on domain, and also like the service layer has dependency on domain. Domain knows nothing about those two. Now the domain contains all the business logic. Like it contains the interface to services. It has some like models usable in those like lower layers, and also like use cases based on user needs. Presentation layer, it presents like what user can do, what they can see, and there are some views, some screens, some UI components, and those views or view models call functions on use cases in the domain. And now here is the service layer. So there are a couple services. Those are practically like data providers or mock services. Just like give me some data. And those services conforms to this interface, which is defined, and it's part of the domain. And it fits very nicely with view models, which I'm not using, as there is an argument that the Swift UI should not be using that, but also let's not go there. the big advantage of this architecture is the focus on small parts of the project. So it could be broken down, something like this. There's a schema in project file that you could switch it to compile only one feature for this like horizontal slice. Let's say that there's a presentation layer for the search, and this could be developed just against previews. You could have like another small piece. This is like a service layer, and this should be also developed. This could be developed only like against the unit tests. It should be also okay. And the same applies like for domain. You can just like focus only on this one, which is like glue in between those two, and you can also like write some test logic with some mock service against the tests. So I'm using this offline first approach, and there are like a couple of reasons for that, but the main reasons is that you don't need internet when you are developing stuff. And the other day, like my NBN connection dropped, and I haven't really noticed. Well, until I have to access Stack Overflow, but until then it was fine. So you don't have to make any API calls if absolutely like not necessary. And the architecture I just described like fits this quite well. So practically, you have a couple layers, in this case 3, and each of them has some access time. And I will put here like a big asterisk that I don't want to argue like if those numbers are correct. Like this is more like to give you some sense of scope. So these numbers, it might be quite hard to understand like what's the meaning behind them. You know, like you are not really using those like every day. So like what does it mean? So let me multiply those by 10 millions. So now the access to the memory is 1 second. Like it's quite easy to understand what 1 second is. Now the access to the hard drive will be 8 minutes. It's like not too bad, right? Like you can make coffee in 8 minutes, but if you compare it with 1 second, this is like 500 times more. Now downloading content from network, it will take 2 months. I think I can grow my own coffee plant in 2 months. I have no idea at all plants, but yeah, you see my point. So yeah, this framing should help you like if you really need to access the API, or if you can just like save something in memory or in hard drive. So let's take a look at the offline first structure. We have some caller, and the only thing he cares about is calling something what confirms to tile providing protocol. For example, it could be network service, right? But let me abstract this a little bit. So it will be this repository. This is a real object. And now that object can contain like multiple services, multiple data sources. And each of them is still confirming to this like tile providing protocol. We only need here like a little bit of thin logic layer just to do the orchestration. So it will just start with the first data source, and if it has value, then just return the value. If not, continue to the next one. And that logic also need to have some means to update the data from the slower data source to the faster one. And that's done by tile updating protocol conformants. We can also see that those are implemented only on the local data sources. Like theoretically, it could be also like for the network, but it's not necessary here. Yeah, and here's some like initialization for that repository. You can see that it's sorted by priority. So the fastest ones are the highest one, and then it's just like getting to the slower and slower ones. It's like very simple to do some debugging with this. Like you can just replace those data sources with some mock data source, or you can replace the whole repository with a mock data source. It will still work. Exactly the same approach is used for this ATC. So instead of scraper, I would just like replace it with a proper API, and the protocol is still the same. So let me give you a couple development tips, and I'll talk very briefly about debugging. I use this snippet number of times, like every day. It's like quite useful. It's just prompted by typing print, and you can just like pick one color, and it will stand out like in the console. You can also like filter it like based on that color. Yeah. So you just like put inside like what you want to print. Just delete the other colors and don't commit those stuff. Like otherwise, it will look like the Skittle advertisement. Launch arguments. I must have talked about those like a couple times already, but like I love those. I use them as a debugging feature flags or as a mock data loading configuration. This is how we will just display this window from the Xcode. It's very simple to set up and to control it. Just keep in mind that you have to run it from Xcode. Otherwise, it will not work if you run it directly from the app. This is the implementation for consuming those launch arguments in the code. It might be extended to remember those feature flags in the memory, so you don't have to run it only from Xcode. But yeah, this is not that version. Just notice those like static subscripts. So it's like super easy to call it. Like that's it. Okay, so let me share this detective case with you, or maybe I should say debugging case study. So I had a chance to test my app in Apple Labs for a couple hours. Unfortunately, it kept crashing on the real device when I tried to read database. And my only clue was this very generic error. It's like not very useful. Something is wrong with database file. So now I was at home. I didn't have Vision Pro to test with, but I suspect the issue will be happening on every real device. So I just wrote a tiny test project for iPhone, and yes, I was right. It was still crashing with the exact same error. So now, how to fix it? Step number 1, Stack Overflow. I did a quick search, and I found exactly the same question, which was good. Unfortunately, there was no answer to that. So first, I thought I had somehow misconfigured the package dependencies to expose those resources, but that was fine. Then I thought I might be accessing a file in secured scope, but no, that was also not true. So finally, I just tried to read that file, like the data type, just directly, and it worked. So the problem must have been like somewhere in the database itself. And then I noticed that when I open database in any like database viewer, it creates some extra files. And that means that system needs to write those files on disk. And it makes sense that it works in simulator where you have access to your whole like file system. But the real device is like more restrictive to do that. So I tried to change the bundle write permission, but like that was stupid and would never work. Yeah, it was this one. And then I decided to programmatically move the database from bundle to temp folder before opening it. And yep, that worked. But then I had a second thought about that. It was like kind of like dirty to copy this like big, large files just to read them. So it might make sense like if you also have to write to them, but like that was not my case. So it looked like this image. Like I like this image like very much, like, but you know, there might be like better solution, like how this will be implemented, like more elegant. And yes, there is. So those temporary files seems to be helpful only when you need like a write access to the database. And that was not my case. So after consulting documentation, I found out there are flags called like pragmas to configure the database. And just like changing the journal mode from a wall to delete was doing the thing, and it was not creating those files anymore. So last step, just write down answer to Stack Overflow. So I haven't tested this like on a Vision Pro device yet, but I'm pretty confident like it should work. So case solved. I was the murderer. Okay, so what's next? There are still a couple of known issues I want to fix before a proper release of this app. And I have like no illusion. I have no illusion that there is like a list twice this size with unknown issues. But all core features should be there. And I plan to give you here like a QR code for testing the alpha version of the app. But after initial testing with the real device, where nothing was working, I thought it would be wiser and safer not to do that. But then I have quite a good feeling about debugging stuff, and I like to live on the edge. So here we go. Okay, I skipped this one. Yeah, here we go. Like, here's your QR code. Just pause the video, and yeah. If you have Vision Pro and would like to try this app and maybe even give me some feedback, like now is your chance. So let's wrap this up. I personally love to have like some side projects, sometimes even more than one at a time. And so every year there's a WWDC, and this is the opportunity to explore those like new APIs. And if you do that, like usually at work, there are different priorities. So you don't have much time to do that. But like if you do this at home, like you might be the interesting guy in your iOS chapter to talk about those. The next point is quite related to the previous one. Like every time when you are resolving some difficult problem, you are also growing as an engineer. And I can guarantee you that there will be many difficult problems. And again, you're increasing your value. I don't think that you should be doing that like only for this point, but like it's also true. Like you are creating references. Usually when I have some job interviews, I'm talking more about those than my work stuff. And the last one, it's fun, at least most of the time. So yeah, you can find me on internet with my name. I'm using LinkedIn and email. And yeah, are there any questions?
Round of applause for Yana. Definitely lived up to the hype.
I guess with the just sort of wondering how much lag there would be. So with the tracking, how much lag there is between. I mean, I guess you can't really test it if you haven't got any
Yes.
to see whether what you're seeing is
Yes.
actually
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure like how much lag there will be. I tried like in Apple app, but there are no windows, so I couldn't really watch for any planes. There's still some stuff what you can do, just like to put the timestamp to the advance and just like compute it. But yeah, you have to test it. You know, like how much delay there will be. So yeah.
With your repository patterns, like, does the data just stay in there forever, or do you have to like time it out? So you have to eject it from the cache at some stage because it's too stale or something?
Yeah. So I'm using that for tiles. So the tiles are like not changing. Like those are kind of like constant. The memory, like once you will kill the app, it will not stay there. I have there some maximum amount of space you can use for a hard drive. So it was like 500 megabytes or something like that. Yeah, I might experiment with that. But yeah, you can say like pruning the cache, like that something is like the oldest one, it will just get erased, just to bring there some new ones. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what format are the tiles stored in?
It's like PNG, I think they are, or maybe JPEGs. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't think it's JPEG. Maybe for the satellite pictures, but like not for the elevation, because there might be some downgrading the quality. So yeah, you need EXAF colors for that. Yeah.
All the tiles. That's all Mapbox, is it? The
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yep. I'm not sure like about difficult. I think the problem with the map that I have to rewrite that module, like it was quite demotivating. I think that I took a pause like on this project for a couple of months because I just like didn't want to see it for some time. But yeah, and like what I showed you here in the simulator, like it's like nothing if you will try it like with a real device. It just like looks much nicer. So yeah. Yep.
Have you tried to wipe code anything, or just curious how much knowledge right now AI has about this sort of issues you faced that?
Yeah, I haven't tried AI with this one. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But I think that like most of the stuff, like yes, there are some like API knowledge, like what you need to have just like to do those stuff. But I think that most of it is more just like generic programming, or you know, the presentation layer is like not as big part of that project. I think that the others are like more important, and yeah, just like to do. Yeah, like that one, like yeah, it was it was like I felt like detective just like looking for it, and yeah. Yep. Like probably like the most satisfying thing was like seeing everything like together to be working like in the real device. Like you know, it's it's good thing that the simulator is quite close to the real device, like not with everything. And like that error what I got there, it was the same like for any iPhone, right? Like this was not like Vision Pro specific, but yeah. So just like seeing this whole thing coming together, and it's actually like I would say it's like more performant like on the real device than just like running it like on the computer because of all the optimization stuff. Yeah. No, unfortunately not. I'm not like such an enthusiast. I reach out like to some guys like doing this DBS stuff, and they've been like quite like excited about those stuff. It's just like driven by community. So those people are just like having those receivers. They're just like loving to watch planes coming around, and yeah. Yeah.
All right, another round of applause for Jan.
Yep. Do you need a...
Thanks for coming, everyone. And I hope to see you next month. Just a reminder, if you're interested in being on a panel next month or giving any kind of talk related to WWDC, let Christian or myself know. Otherwise, go home safely and we'll see you next month. Thanks.